week, let's bring in wordsmith and broadcaster Kel Richards. Kel, fantastic to see you again.
Yes, mate.
I've used the word fascist a couple of times tonight. Donald Trump has been accused by his opponents of being a fascist. What's the actual meaning? I mean, we know about the Nazi history and the Hitler history. What's the actual history of that word?
Benito Mussolini chose fascist for the name of his political party, National Fascist Party, in 1921. And he chose it because it was the title of a group of magistrates in ancient Rome. They walked around the streets carrying a bundle of rods as their symbol of office. They never actually hit anyone with them, but it was a symbol of the fact that they ruled by force. And the old Latin word for rods was something like fasci. So from that they were called the fascists. Mussolini liked the idea of ruling by force, so he borrowed the word from those ancient Roman magistrates with the goal of setting up a nationalist dictatorship that ruled by force. The problem with applying it to Trump is it cheapens the word. So when real fascists turn up in the world, we don't have a strong word to name them. So it is very sad that it's being bandied around in this way, Steve.
Yeah, well said. Still on the politics, John is a big fan of yours. He said, in political terms, why does the word, and I've had a lot of my mates ask me this, why does the word liberal have completely opposite meanings in Australia compared to the United States?
It's a good question, isn't it, Steve? And I've wondered the same thing, so I had to do a bit of digging and research. Early in the 20th century, the left wing, the Liberals, called themselves progressives. But after Franklin Roosevelt and his New Deal, they took, with a lot of government intervention in those days, in the New Deal, during the Great Depression, they took to calling themselves liberal socialists. Then the 1950s hit, and suddenly the Cold War and anything that was remotely socialist or communist was out the window. So they dropped the socialist part of it and just called themselves liberals. So they completely abandoned the heritage by people like, you know, John Locke and John Stuart Mill, the great libertarian heritage behind liberal. So the English-speaking world is divided into two groups. Those people for whom liberal means liberty, and those people, the Americans, for whom liberal means interventionist, government interventionist. But it's because of what happened under Franklin Roosevelt and then the fact that they had to drop the socialist part of their self-chosen title when the Cold War hit.
I've known you for decades. You always dress impeccably. Now, Michael has asked, it's a good question, is there such a word as peccable?
Yes, there is, Steve. It's existed since about 1604, and peccable meant able to sin. So when the opposite came in, impeccable, it meant unable to sin. So when it first came in, it only ever applied to saints. But you know what we're like. We like to water words down, and incapable of sinning was not a goal that a lot of people were aiming at. So impeccable came to mean just well-dressed. But there really was a word peccable. You could try it out on your friends and baffle everyone at a dinner party, Steve.
It's a good idea. Thank you very much. And you do dress impeccably. You always have. Kel Richards, the great Kel Richards, will be back with Peter Credlin next week.